Our final speaker today is Miss Patti Adams. Patti will be delivering the speech Communicate, Collaborate, and Cooperate, which is the first speech under the Effective Coaching Pathway Level 3, Reaching Consensus. The objective is to lead a group of people toward consensus and then deliver a 2 to 3 minute closing statement on the experience or the decision. So let's welcome our Patti Adams.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Carmen. Reaching consensus. Reaching consensus deals with knowing the effective way to communicate, working as a team to collaborate, and then also to cooperate. I like the quote that was given that I found in Seeds of Change, where it says, consistent decision makes it creative and a dynamic way of reaching agreement in a group. Instead of simply voting for an item and having the majority getting their way, a consensus group is committed to finding solutions that everyone actively supports or at least can live with. One of our Toastmasters members who is visually impaired wrote a Toastmasters article about how to benefit from change. And I like some of the quotes that he gave about change. One of them is, if you are not changing, you are not growing. You cannot grow today if you cling to yesterday. I cannot explore new territories of my own until I stop resisting blindness and learn to use the cane for travel. And then branching out can be scary, but that's where new growth happens. So today we're going to talk a little bit about that, about change. My objective for this meeting is to reach a consensus. Should we go from bi-weekly meetings to weekly meetings? I've asked a team of participants to help me with this ahead of time, and they know who they are. First off, before we let them get into the discussion, here's some of the pros of changing and some of the cons of perhaps not changing. If you go to a weekly meeting, you will have your educational goals can be met sooner. It gives members more of an opportunity to participate in meetings. By meeting weekly, we have 3 or more times throughout the month to meet, and then you can read the others. Some of the cons that people may be experiencing, the members may feel like, I'm not sure I want to do this, is that it may take a little bit more of a commitment for members to show up. In other words, they will be coming to meetings weekly opposed to every other week. Sometimes we're resistant to change because we just feel like, well, it's just not going to work well for the club as a whole. And then when we go back to meeting our physical venue, there comes the issue of money. Do we want to spend more money to meet weekly opposed to bi-weekly? Right now, I would like for my participants to please keep their cameras on and take their sound and take the mute button off. And then everyone else can actually just stop their video, stop their mute, because I only want to be able to talk to the participants of this meeting. We're going to have a discussion, and I'm going to call on each of the persons that agreed to participate and ask them what their thoughts on us changing from bi-weekly meetings to meetings. Now, Victor was going to be one of our participants, and he is unable to make it. So I would start with Karen and ask Karen, what do you think about Hong Kong MBA Club entertaining or changing from bi-weekly meetings to weekly meetings? I would like to hear some of your thoughts concerning this issue.
Thank you so very much. My thoughts concerning moving to a weekly meeting for the Hong Kong MBA, I am not a fan of that. I am not a fan of that because, like you said in some of your cons, that it takes a larger commitment to make meetings every week. And although it may lessen the time frame that we're on, I think 2 hours every 2 weeks is a great opportunity for us to interact, and it allows us to get everything that we need to get accomplished. And if we move to a weekly meeting, I do believe that it will cause more of a burden on the members.
Thank you so much, Karen. I appreciate that. And I have asked Bruce to time each person 2 minutes, just so that we can kind of stay on track, and then we'll all come back and discuss it together. Sanket, I would like to hear from you. What are your feelings about changing from a bi-weekly meeting to a weekly meeting?
I would second Karen on this point. So I agree to Karen that it would be better to stick to what we are currently doing in terms of having bi-weekly rather than having a weekly meeting, because it gives enough time to the members also in terms of their prepared speeches, in terms of going through the video, in terms of getting a good content about what is happening and study. So they have enough time, say more than a week. Having a weekly meeting, in my understanding, would be a lot of rush in terms of preparation, in terms of meeting 2 hours per week would be difficult. What I can see is at least having it bi-weekly, we have enough members showing up, and at the same time, in terms of preparation, we can see that a lot of efforts has been taken, and it comes up also well in terms of from a preparation perspective, I would say. So that gives enough time to every member to kind of reset, take a step back and see where they are lacking, and also see how they can work on and improve better in the coming meetings. So I would stick to the current meeting, which is bi-weekly rather than having a weekly meeting.
Thank you so much, Sanket. And now we will have Carmen speak for a minute and give us her initial thoughts on changing from a bi-weekly meeting to a weekly meeting.
Thank you, Patti.
You're welcome.
I also prefer to continue with having bi-weekly meetings. The reason being that it will allow members to have more sufficient time to prepare their speeches, to practice it, and to try to improve it themselves by doing more practice before attending the meeting. It would give the members more confidence knowing that they have sufficient time to prepare, having enough practice before actually delivering it. And it also takes time to prepare, say, the table topic section, to think of more innovative ways to engage members or guests when delivering impromptu speeches. So how to set up those questions that would keep the members or guests more involved and willing to participate, that require quite a lot of time in the preparation. So I believe preparation is very important to ensure a smooth and successful meeting. That's my view.
Thank you so much for your view, Carmen. And then Hagen, what are your viewpoints on changing from bi-weekly meetings to weekly meetings?
Okay, thanks, Carmen. Thanks, Patti, and thanks, Carmen, as well. All right, for a club, just to take it a little bit differently. Again, I am, not to sound psychopathic, I am 100% on board with the whole bi-weekly schedule for a club to run its meetings. However, my proposal is that for us, we may want to consider to run ourselves on a weekly schedule to add diversity and variety into the clubs and people that we are exposed to, so that we actually see and get a wider range of speakers in our weekly exposure to the Toastmaster program. So on a club level, I am for the bi-weekly schedule, but on a personal level, in terms of how you engage with the entire Toastmaster community, in terms of the club meetings that you attend, I would recommend a weekly schedule.
Thank you so much. Each of you all, I really appreciate that. And so now we're just going to kind of all talk at once. I do appreciate each person's viewpoint that you all have come up with. The reason that I asked several different people to join this particular, I would say, roundtable discussion is so that you could get viewpoints from everyone, not everyone in the club, but just a large variety of different people as a whole. I have participated in weekly meetings, and for me, it was better because I had more of an opportunity to speak. As the club continues to grow, it makes it hard for individual members to achieve their educational goals because you're almost fighting for that spot in which to speak. On the level of having to meet for 2 hours, sometimes that can be a strain on members as well because they may not have 2 hours to dedicate, which means they won't show up if they don't feel like they can participate the whole time. By meeting weekly, you're only dedicating an hour of your time opposed to 2 hours of your time. You also get, in a sense, more value for your money. So by being able to meet more regularly, you're able to speak more regularly, and you can gain a lot from that. Now, am I trying to persuade you guys? Absolutely not. What I wanted to do was just have an open discussion on all the pros and all the cons to see if we could come to a resolution on changing it from bi-weekly to weekly. Are there any other discussions that need to take place at this time concerning bi-weekly or weekly meetings? Any more discussions? I open the floor for that.
Yeah.
I'm not from the club, right? Sorry, can I say something just as an observer?
Yes.
Currently in Singapore, the meetings are held once a month, right? And clubs are collapsed. And I cannot find any slot in Singapore to speak. And that's why I'm exploring out there clubs to get a slot to speak. Weekly is a very good idea when the club collapses. And this is my experience with Singapore. I don't know if that helps, but when there are a lot of people in the club, people fight each other to get a slot, and people end up leaving the club, basically, and being unhappy. Yeah. Okay, that's all.
Oh, thank you for that, Leo. I appreciate it. In fact, since Victor wasn't here, I was opening the floor to pretty much anyone that wanted to speak. And so far what I've gained is that there are more that would prefer to stay as bi-weekly opposed to weekly. And so my suggestion would be that we at least can compromise on saying that we'll come back and revisit this at a time, because obviously I cannot make it be a personal thing and say, oh, well, it has to be weekly. But what I wanted to do is open it up to where everyone could have a voice to say, yes, I think it would be a good idea, or no, it wouldn't, so that we could appeal to more members as what their desire is. Because a lot of times people just sit back and they're quiet and they don't entertain a different way of doing things. And so what does the group think as a whole about us maybe coming to a compromise that we can revisit this at another time? Of course, once COVID is all over and people are back meeting, physically and things of that nature, if we could perhaps revisit this. What are your thoughts?
Well, I have maybe a suggestion, and I don't know how well this may go over, but if the club does decide to do a weekly meeting, it doesn't mean that everybody has to attend every single weekly meeting, especially if you're unable to meet weekly. So if the club is open weekly, then that will allow people who want to get their speeches done. It will allow Leo to get in on the platform, and those who, like Hagen said, have more exposure to the general population than what we currently have. So that is something that can be explored as well.
Thank you very much. And I think that may have been one of the ones I had on the PowerPoint slide that I did mention. But yes, of course, Karen, I will definitely agree with you. It gives you more of an opportunity, because part of what I see is working with Carmen as the VP and now becoming the VP is that a lot of times members, if they miss one meeting, it's like, oh, not so bad. But if they miss, 2, then it's like, I've missed a whole month. And so it's taken them longer to complete their, say, distinguished Toastmaster, or complete their level 1 or their pathways. And so opening up the avenues to doing things differently to where you can feel good about yourself and about what you're doing, I think is a really good thing. KK, I know that you're just a guest here today. And if you had to meet every week or every other week to commit to coming to a club to participate, what would your thoughts be?
I think for me it's a little bit difficult because I have another class need to participate, so I need to manage my schedule, and so that's why I prefer bi-weekly rather than the weekly.
Thank you so much. So this will conclude our discussion on reaching a consensus. I will say that one of the reasons that this has been such a long meeting is as you continue growing in Toastmasters, you will learn that you have to do perhaps speeches that are a little bit longer. So you have your 5 to 7 minutes, and then you may graduate to 8 to 10. And then you have your longer meetings like your 18 to 20 in order to make sure that you know how to do everything, such as trying to reach a consensus. You might have to create a podcast. You may have to learn how to get on the radio and broadcast something. But all of these different things will teach you a different level of speaking publicly and presenting professionally. So just keep in mind that it doesn't just stick with those 4 to 6 minutes or those 5 to 6 minutes. As you complete this program, you will learn how to do a lot of different things in a lot of different areas. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the evening.
Thank you so much, Patti, for demonstrating how to conduct a successful discussion and obtaining the views of different parties. And also what Patti has just said is for the benefit of our guests as well. For our Toastmasters Club members, we will be taking up various pathways, and we have to take up different assignments, and it's not just the usual delivery of speech. We may sometimes require to do podcasts, and also what Patti has just done, demonstrated how to organize them. A group discussion. So that would be different types of experience that you could acquire by taking up various pathways.
And then Carmen, I do have to give a 2 to 3 minute closing statement on reaching a consensus.
Yes, Patti.
So I will go ahead and give that now. And I know that Bruce is continuing to time me, and he can give me my individual time or put it in chat when he's all done.
Okay.
It's basically just a review and a recap of what we discussed. And so, you know, my consensus committee consisted of both male and female, some of our newer and older members, persons who's been with the club weekly as well as bi-weekly, and then those of different international members that participate in our club. And the reason I did that is I really wanted to get some different viewpoints from everyone. I didn't want to get an all male group or all female group. The meeting started off with me introducing what reaching a consensus is about, and then giving you some pros and cons on changing from bi-weekly meetings to weekly meetings. We had a roundtable discussion where each participant had 2 minutes to give their initial thoughts, and then we kind of just let anybody that wanted to speak on this topic. I was very impressed with the fact that not only did our participants listen to the pros and the cons, but they came up with their own individual pros and cons concerning the meeting. I know that, you know, like with Karen, she was saying initially that she would go with meeting, continue to keep it as it is. You know, the 2 hours created great interaction for her. And then later on, she also gave a viewpoint as to how weekly could benefit the club as well. Same with Sanket, he pretty much seconded Karen. And so I would say that we had more on the let's stay as we are, opposed to changing it to weekly, but then we were able to come up with a compromise on that. And so as more information was explored, it allowed us the opportunity to either reach a consensus or a compromise. I would like to note that although a consensus was not met, I truly believe we had an informed discussion, not only from Sanket and Karen, but also from Hagen and Carmen, and Leo and KK even joined in. I truly believe that we were able to compromise on revisiting this idea for the future based on what our club needs are at that time. The experience of bringing our members together to discuss what could have been a very controversial issue to me was amazing. I would like to thank each participant for their comments, their ability to work as a team, and for their kindness. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the evening.
Thank you so much, Patti.